So guys, today I'm going to show you a fertilizer that takes almost no effort to make, and it's completely 100% free. I used it on these peppers and nothing else, no slow release, nothing. I made sure not to overspray them, but I wanted to experiment with this fertilizer for the one season this year and only fertilize it with this. And as you can see, I'll give you a close-up of these pepper plants, but they are exploded with production. But not only can you use these on your vegetable garden, you can use it in your ornamental garden, shrubs, trees. This will work on anything, and it costs absolutely nothing to make, and it takes less than 7 days to make it and 10 minutes to put it together. So I wanted to give you a close-up and show you that truly these pepper plants have produced more this year than I've ever had produced in the garden. There's literally hundreds of pepper plants on these, I believe it's 8 plants. I cannot even eat them all. I can't give them away. So if you want to see something that will truly be miraculous, almost magical in your garden, keep watching and I'll show you how to make this very, very simple fertilizer. So guys, even if you're not growing a vegetable garden, I wanted to show you these ornamentals. These roses have performed better than they ever have before. I made it a point to only treat them this year with this homemade recipe, and it is, like I say, super simple. The hydrangeas have done quite well. They've probably bloomed more this year than they did last year. I'm about 100% sure of that. And the pickerel over there has doubled in size in just the last month after I added a second dose of this formula. So let's head out to the garden and I'll show you exactly how to find what you need to put this together. And the 10 minutes it's going to take to make it, and then you just wait through a process. Then you can use it after 7 days, and it is incredibly strong fertilizer, so potent you have to dilute it. Now guys, this process is super simple. All you need to do is go anywhere in your yard or anywhere that you see a lot of variety of weeds growing, and you want to take a pair of old-fashioned pruning shears like this for hedges or whatever you might have used them for in the past. These are the best way to do it because it'll save you an added step. But we're going to go around this patch of weeds and do a lot of cutting. I'm going to cut them off about 3 to 4 inches each, and then fill this 5-gallon bucket up. And I've added one special feature to it that makes it really easy to use, this special formula. So I just got through weeding this bed of monkey grass, and there was a lot of variety of weeds, and that's one of the keys to making this formula is you want a mixture of weeds, not just one type, but a mixture of weeds to make this work. So you may have to go to 2 or 3 spots in your yard. You could go to a roadside area that has a lot of weeds growing in it, but just one thing to remember, you need to learn to identify poison ivy. You don't want to put that into your weed compound here. Now next I'm going to do a couple things that a lot of people that know this process will always miss, and it's really catastrophic because the fertilizer will not work. The homemade fertilizer will not work. We're going to add it to our bucket, and we're also going to use a very special container to hold the weeds. Now this I purchased, this is a brew bag, and the woven size, or however they make this, is so small you don't have to worry about seeds getting into your vegetable or ornamental garden. So make sure you have something. If you don't want to order this, and I'll put a link in the description, you can always use a pillowcase, but a lot of people don't want to mess up a perfectly good pillowcase. And this, the material it's made out of, can be used over and over. You just need to wash it after you get through using it. Now you want to make sure your weeds are chopped as small as possible. You may not have a pair of hedge trimmers like this. You can use a weed eater. You could collect your weeds in a pile and run over it with your push mower or riding mower, but you just want the size fairly small. So next I'm going to dump the weeds on our table. Try not to make a giant mess here. Then we're going to take our brew bag and put it into our 5-gallon bucket. Now we want to do a layering process on this, and by that I'll show you, give you a close-up. We'll put this on the floor and I'll show you what I mean by a layering process. But you want your brew bucket to have this liner in it, because if you don't do that step, then you're setting your garden up for massive weed takeover. So these seeds are very small, but again, I'm going to show you the close-up of the size of these holes in this fabric, and it is not possible for even the smallest weed to get through, weed seed. Now my camera is not super expensive, so I'm hoping this will show up, but the size of this weave, this pattern of material, is so small that even the tiniest weed seeds could not get through it. So remember, you're going to either use something like a pillowcase, which would have the same effect, cotton woven, very fine pillowcase, or if you don't want to use that, purchase one of these and it'll keep the weeds out of your garden. Now this is the next step, and it's really critical. Is what we're going to do is we're going to be putting in black cow composted manure. And if you make your own compost, that's great. You can make it for free. But in my case, I am fresh out of my own homemade compost. But what we're doing is we're going to put in 1-inch layers in between each layer of weeds. So just make sure you spread it out well, add it to the bucket, and then grab a handful of weeds and then put it on top, press it down, and then just do the same process over until you've used up all your weeds, and you've probably came up about 3/4 of your bucket because a little bit of compression happening there. So it's going to be compost weeds, and you just do that over until you run out of weeds. Now there's a couple more really important tips I have to tell you to do. You want to make sure you keep this in the shade because you don't want it to get overheated. You wanted the microbial life in here to multiply, break down the weeds and create a fertilizer that's so strong. Again, you're going to have to dilute it about 1 part fertilizer to about 5 parts water. Another thing you want to do is you want to put a lid on it because animals can get in here. So this type of bag that I told you about, the brew bag, still allows me to seal this top. I'll put it in the shade. And then the key here is to wait 6 to 7 days. You can wait 7 days, it's perfectly okay. There's not an exact time frame here, but 6 to 7 days. Now I will warn you that you may want to put on a facial mask before you do this, and put a little bit of peppermint oil in there, because if you are adverse or easily disturbed by extremely strong odors, this is going to have a very strong odor. But the benefit it's going to do for your plants, you've already seen it in the vegetable garden and in my ornamental flower garden. Now a lot of people are going to say you're not truly making a free formula if you have to buy black cow compost. And I've got a homemade composter right here that I can make all the compost I want. Unfortunately, I've used all the compost that I had made from last year out of this composter, and so I'm fresh out. So that's why I'm using the black cow. So it is truly free if you can make your own compost, or you have access to aged manure that, of course, if you live near a farm, you can get all that you want. So take a look at this video that teaches you how to make a homemade composter out of an ordinary trash can. Now I've used a food grade bucket, and I've added a safety feature to the top of it to keep any animals out. I would recommend a brick or something like this, a really heavy ceramic pot or bowl, just something to keep the lid on it, because raccoons and other animals might sometimes get into it. Now this is the completely free version, and it doesn't cost anything to make. You can put this together and it will fertilize your garden all summer long. And remember, you're going to dilute this to 1 part of this solution after a week to 5 parts water. So you don't want to make it too strong because it can burn your plants. And it's a good idea to water it early in the morning. Now I've added this manual tap at the base of the bucket, and this will help if you don't want to slosh this around and take a chance on getting it to you, or you don't want to stick your hand in there and dip it out. But you can just put your watering container, whether it's a small glass like that or any type of watering pitcher. So just remember, adding one of these really inexpensive taps here makes it a lot easier to get your liquids out very quickly. I've already emptied this one out, and it's ready to go out to the garden and start fertilizing plants. Now I've added nothing to this, no store-bought products, but if you want to boost this formula, you can add 1/2 cup of bone meal and 1/2 cup of blood meal. Now they're both very inexpensive. You can find it at garden centers everywhere. I'll put a link in the description in case you don't want to go out and look for it, but these two will make a difference, 1/2 cup of each. Now another thing, a lot of soils have become hydrophobic and they don't absorb water properly, so I would also recommend adding to each time you water with this formula, add about a teaspoon of Castile soap. This is very safe soap. It's made from vegetables, and it will help the water, instead of just running off the surface, it will actually be absorbed into the soil. Lastly, 1/2 of a teaspoon of any type of yeast added to this formula at the beginning, if you have some on hand, will really make a difference. That will grow faster, the microbial life will grow in there faster, and it will just create a powerful boost to the already powerful, miraculous formula here. So that's just a couple of ways you can do it. But again, at the beginning, I wanted to show you the totally free, completely zero cost way of creating a fertilizer that you can use all season long. So guys, if you're a gardener or you know a gardener, tell them about this video or share it with them, and you will be amazed at what's going to happen to your garden over the entire growing season. You're going to have more vegetables, more fruits, more berries. You'll have bigger flowers, healthier flowers. They'll be able to fight off diseases and insects much easier. A healthy plant is often much stronger at being attacked by insects and disease. So guys, If you have a question about this video or any previous video, please become a public subscriber first. I get anywhere from 1 to 300 questions and comments a day, and it's nearly impossible for me to answer everybody. So I always put people who've subscribed. I filter it in the YouTube management system. I filter it that way so I can answer those questions first. I do get to non-subscriber questions too, but it might take a number of days before I can even do that. Also, if you're interested in seeing content that's not going to appear on YouTube or it's going to be early release, you can join our Patreon and see what we're doing there. I do a little bit of extra stuff that I'm not planning on showing on YouTube, so some of those videos will never make it to YouTube. So guys, I really appreciate you watching and have a great day.